because it's going to be talking about archaeology. We're going to be hearing from Marga Sánchez Romero. She is a professor of prehistory at the University of Granada. Her research is particularly interested in the role of women and children in prehistoric societies on the Iberian Peninsula. She collaborates with El Condensador de Flujo, which is a program on Spanish TV. And she's going to be talking about the history of women. A warm round of applause, please, for Marga Sánchez Romero. Good evening. Now, recently I've been reading a lot of papers in high-impact journals, Q1, Q2, Q3, even Q4. I've gone to visit museums all over the world. I've been looking at what they say in these museums and those institutions in which we tell people about the scientific knowledge that we have accumulated. And I've come to a conclusion. In prehistory, there were no women. That's my conclusion. No women in prehistory. No women at all. Believe me, I'm telling you the truth. This was the conclusion I've reached. These women, which we thought were there in prehistory, after this very exhaustive analysis of scientific papers and museums, well, they actually didn't exist. They weren't there. Well, it's strange, right? If there were no women in prehistory, well, you know, there's something missing, right? Why are we here today? So I kept thinking, and I thought, well, maybe there were women, but maybe archaeology, that scientific discipline, which was created in the second half of the 19th century when we started to have authorized scientific discourse, this discourse that we teach people at school and at university. Maybe at one point in time, that discipline just decided that we weren't going to tell anyone about the existence of women, that all the knowledge and all the wisdom and all the work that they carried out, that all the things that women have been doing for thousands and millions of years, well, it wasn't really important to tell anyone about it. Bit weird, right? But I think that's probably the case because, you know, I mean, scientific discipline, what it aims to do is to generate complete, comprehensive knowledge about what it's studying. It's weird, right, that it just forgot something that is so important, but also so numerous, because it didn't just forget about women, it also forgot about children. It also forgot about people with different types of capacities. Why did they do that? Why did they overlook all of those people? And why did that happen throughout the entire 20th century? Despite all these different methodologies that have helped us to improve our scientific pursuits, why didn't someone do something about it? Well, I have the feeling, a very strong feeling, that archaeology is a science, like all other sciences, is immersed in the economic, political, social, ideological conditions of its time, which affect it. And you might just say, no, that's just for humanities. No, it happens to science as well. All you have to do is to look at what areas of research are funded and which ones are not funded. Do we do the science they let us do, or do we do the science we want to do? Well, that's a topic for another time. So science and archaeology supports a very specific type of discourse, and that's the discourse of inequality between men and women. Other inequalities as well, but we're just talking today about the inequality between men and women. Because if women aren't in these books and in the places where they're telling about people at history, if we occupy a secondary, almost invisible place in this historical narrative, does that mean that, that means that we don't have the same value as men, and so why should we have the same rights, right? So that discourse is still sustained today. And how does archaeology do this? Well, there are three strategies it uses. First of all, well, if this is so natural, if this inequality has existed ever since man was man, then why should we change it? No, it must be very difficult to change if it's innate. But there are three strategies that is used. first of all, is the generation of stereotypes. Stereotypes. What's a stereotype? It's a way of creating a preferred state, something that we all want to look like, something that we all want to think, and think about what we are and what we're not. And archaeology does that. Well, at the beginning of the 20th century, in 1902, with this exhibition, which was held in the Royal Belgian Institute of Natural Science, and it was there to tell people history and telling about human evolution. There were 15 sculptures were there so that people could see how human beings have evolved. Of the 15 sculptures, 2 are women. And look at us, we're completely stereotyped. So we have a Neanderthal mother. She's almost like an animal. It's the essence of maternity, motherhood. There's not anything about real motherhood there, which is about effort and knowledge and wisdom and experience, body, emotions. That's not reflected here at all. And then we also have on the right-hand side, body dedicated to sexuality, the sexualized body of a woman. Those are the 2 elements, the 2 images, the 2 resources that are used to represent women. This is what people see when they go to that exhibition. There are 13 men of different ages. They're fishing, they're hunting, they're carving, they're painting, they're journeying, they're making everything, but they're related to technology. They're linked to technology, everything that makes society progress. And women just have their bodies. That's it. That's basically, they've been reduced to that. Now, this didn't just happen because it was the beginning of the 20th century. This happened also in the 1960s. Let's have a look at her. You've got, exactly the same. So the first strategy is stereotypes. Second strategy, denial. Women, no. Women aren't there. Women don't do that. And this coincides, by coincidence, that the things that women don't do are the fantastic things in history. Women don't hunt. Women don't paint caves. Women don't fight in battles. Women don't travel. Women don't have power. And science is really stubborn, right? Because every day we see that there is evidence telling us that this is in fact not the case, that we find weapons that were used by women. We find bodies of women that tell us that they've travelled all over Europe. We find fingerprints, which tells us that women painted caves. We find arrows stuck into women's bodies, which tells us that they were fighting. And this what happened in Ukraine not long ago. This is what science is showing us. What's the third strategy? Making us invisible. All the work carried out by women, all the knowledge acquired by women, everything that women do, this is simply not told. And this, everything that has to do with caring, socialization, health, preparing food, all of these elements which form an intrinsic part of human activity. There's no society that can survive without doing all of this. Maintenance work at the end of the day, but we still continue to do the same thing. We are underestimating this type of work. We continue to say that this is a job that it doesn't require any knowledge, any skill. It doesn't use any kind of technology. It's a second-rate job which is poorly paid, today even. And this is what the same happens in prehistory. We're stereotyping women, we're denying their existence, or we're just rendering them invisible. What's the solution? Well, we need to do archaeology. That's a solution. Because archaeology, over recent years, is providing a lot of data which are debunking all of these myths. And we're actually putting the different activities carried out by women in the forefront. And this is what we need to do in order to continue to build our society. Because we're not generating knowledge about women. We are generating knowledge about societies in a much broader sense of the term. And we're generating our modern society, which is capable of learning. Because when we look back at women in prehistory, we're not doing that so that we can know what happened all those years ago. We do it because we understand that those societies have something to teach us. For example, inequality is not a historical obligation. Inequality is an option. There are societies that have never had inequality. Don't you think that it's worth looking at the women of the past because we're going to get to know ourselves better as a society? Thank you very much.